How's the day been so far? Been good? Excellent. Thumbs up. Wonderful. You might not want to disclose this, so don't worry, you don't have to put your hand up if you don't want to. But if you are fundraising or thinking about fundraising for your business, put your hands up. Okay, about half the room. If you are on a path or would like to be at some point in the future to sell your business, as opposed to having a long-term lifestyle business, if you're on a path to exit at some point or thinking about it, fabulous. Okay, lifestyle business. Okay, brilliant. I said at the beginning, global venture capital, quarter on quarter, beginning of 22, now in 2023, has shrunk significantly. Okay, so it's much harder. Has anybody that's doing fundraising found it harder at the moment? Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd like to do is give you some tools, tips even, and some personal experience about funding. Then we're going to bring up David Bell, the managing director of Bolt Angels. He's a chartered accountant as well. He's going to talk to you about revenue-based lending and revenue-based, 3 different ways you can fund your business using debt rather than equity. And then we're going to have a DTC and tech den. All right, so 2 people have been brave enough to volunteer to come on stage and pitch to all of you guys who are the dragons. All right, I'm going to give you a notional £100,000 of imaginary capital, monopoly money, all right? And you can invest that £100,000 in one or both of these 2 businesses, all right? So you're going to get to vote at the end. And obviously those guys, they are fundraising at the moment. And if you want to speak to them at the end, then they're going to be around with their team, okay? Great. So let's kick off. So I want to take you back to 2001, the best, worst experience of my life, where I had to sell my family home to avoid bankruptcy. Okay, so I have a real empathy. I was an entrepreneur. I used to buy bars cheap and sell them at school and compete with the school tuck shop. I started a computer graphics designs business using a IBM 286 and a scanner and everything in about 1992. But ultimately, I started my first proper business in 1994. I had a management consulting business and a construction company. Went really well for about 8 years, and then 2001 happened. 2 things, September the 11th, which we all remember, and foot and mouth disease, which some of you might not be old enough to remember. But to the construction business, the teams couldn't go out and actually build anything because they weren't allowed to spread foot and mouth disease. Knock-on consequence of those 2 things. I had 2 businesses making about £500,000 a year profit. I was in my early 30s. So I thought I'd achieved, had 5-bedroom house overlooking the sea in Swanage in Dorset, nice brand new convertible car, and I was riding high. And then literally within 3 months, it all crumbled. And if I didn't have some equity in my house, that wasn't that one, but looked very similar to it, down in Dorset, I would have gone bankrupt, okay? So I've been through that emotional roller coaster. That is the life of an entrepreneur, and I'm sure many of you can relate to it, whether you've lost a business or you've tried something, it hasn't worked out. All right, it's a difficult task being an entrepreneur, and they actually say 1 in 20 people in the population in the UK and the US are actually cut out to be an entrepreneur. So it's a lonely path, it's difficult, it's emotionally challenging, we over-index on ADHD, we've got all these kind of traits. ADHD, yep, guilty. I think it's a superpower. So it was a really difficult experience, and I went from being a very optimistic, natural entrepreneur, like taking risk, to almost the opposite end of the spectrum of saying every day, what can go wrong? What can go wrong? What can go wrong? Because there were 3 things that went wrong in my businesses. I could blame September the 11th, number 1. I could blame foot and mouth disease. But actually, the third one is really the most important one. I didn't have enough knowledge, experience, skills, the team around me, not strong enough, didn't really understand the unit economics of the business. Okay, so that standing on the shoulders of giants, learning from people that have been there and done it is really important and a key part of what makes us tick. All right, and I'll go on to talk about Bolt Angels and how and why we invest in businesses, but I then basically rebuilt my business foundation on the foundation of property. I built a property port. I spent 2 years researching the market. Okay, and I found a way to buy property and rent it out and generate 300% more rental income than the average buy-to-let investor. And I would take a house, 4-bedroom house, convert it into 6 or 7 bedrooms, and rent it to young working professional people, not student letting, but like on Friends, the TV show, Joey and Monica and Chandler. So I did that. I bought my first house, bought my second house, and over 3 years I bought 20 properties from 2004 to 2007, when the market was going crazy. Finance, if you had a pulse, you could get a mortgage. You didn't even really need an income or a job or the old ninja loans back then. It was very easy to raise money, and I built a £6 million property portfolio that generated enough income to cover my living costs. All right, so that was a wonderful day in 2007. And my accountant said, why don't you franchise your business? I didn't know a great deal about franchising, but it was a tried, tested, and proven model, and that's what I did. I started the franchise in 2007, and over the next decade, we bought over 1,000 properties, people following my model. They would come in with their own capital. We would teach them what to buy, where to buy, how to set up the business, how to work with builders, all of that kind of thing. And you can see there, that was a picture one of our franchise workshops. We had over 400 franchisees, franchise partners around the country, and that business still operates today. I stepped down in 2017 and had a 3-year kind of exit and exited that business in 2020. So it gave me the experience of starting a business, losing everything, going through that roller coaster journey, being really risk averse and studying business. I had courses, mentors, books. I became an avid learner. I would be sitting in seminars like this almost every month, learning, flying all over the world to expand my knowledge. Saw digital and tech taking off in around about 2015 and 16. So I launched another franchise which helped over 100 brands launch on Amazon using the Fulfilled by Amazon model. Anybody use FBA with Amazon or done it? Yeah, about half of you. Okay, and that was great. That was a prime time. And another good lesson is every market has a growth period, and then it starts to go into decline. And FBA became more and more difficult. 2017, 2018, they brought in gating fees. They wanted to push out the smaller sellers, professionalize it, and everything else. So we closed that franchise down in 2019. But alongside it, and that's actually how Tash and I met. She was a mentor on that Amazon business that we had. And then as we heard about today, Bolt Digital, we saw the growth of DTC and e-commerce from sort of 2016-17 onwards. Gymshark, the success of Huel, all of these kind of disruptive D2C brands that were around at the time. Warby Parker, one of the very early ones. And Absolute Collagen, as many of we helped take from £1,000 a month to £1 million a month. They took on some private equity investment. Tash and I actually had dinner with Maxine, the founder, last night in support of a Prince's Trust event. And it's just been great to see that business grow. And we learned a huge amount by working with all of these brands. And as we were doing it, the entrepreneur in me is, okay, we've figured out digital marketing really well. Tash is an absolute master at it. So we started working with bigger brands, some of which you've heard from today. But I talked about Bolt Digital as the CPA doctors, right? The CPA doctors, the organisation, there's lots of things they can do. But when you really drill it down to the essence of what does Bolt Digital do, it helps reduce CPA. Okay, yes, it increases customers, AOV, lifetime value. But that is really, I think, the secret sauce of the D2C playbook that the team have. So we mastered it. They say it takes 7 years and 10,000 hours to achieve a level of mastery. And Tash, as you probably noticed, and Shiv today tick that box. They really deeply understand this world. So I thought as an entrepreneur, how can we build our own asset value? And I love mentoring people, coaching people, discovered my passion for that when I used to teach kids outdoor pursuits from the age of sort of 17 to 25, seeing people succeed, passing on knowledge. So we launched Bolt Angels beginning middle of last year. We've been making investments alongside that as well, but we're very specific and selective. Most people go into angel investing and say, I'm going to make 20 investments and put a certain amount of money. We don't do that. We only make about 1 or 2 very selective investments on an annual basis. So Triple Whale, how many of you Triple Whale have used Triple Whale? Okay, quite a few of you. So we were very fortunate. David, the MD of Bolt Angels, found Triple Whale through his network. And we invested in the pre-seed stage on a valuation of $5 million. 12 months later, they closed a Series A at $171 million. And they closed a Series B recently at $400 million. Okay, so we got in at 5. We are partially exiting at the moment, selling 40% of our stake on a valuation of 400 million. And then obviously that business hopefully will keep growing. And in the last round, Shopify invested $10 million in that tech platform. Okay. How do we get that deal? Through our network, because we know people. They were very selective with the investors that they wanted to go in with. And because we've got a digital marketing agency, we run conferences, they saw Bolt Digital and Bolt as a way to expand their footprint in the UK, and we continue to support them. Chamberlain Coffee, Emma Chamberlain is a massive social media influencer in the US. Again, we invested in that in the pre-seed stage. It wasn't really publicly available as a deal. And as John was talking about earlier from Revive Collagen, the Amanda Holden effect, all right, the Emma Chamberlain effect. You get the right influencer who's really passionate and really committed about a brand, and they're fully engaged with it, it can absolutely explode a business. All right, and that's actually what's happened with Chamberlain Coffee. Jack, I'll talk about in a minute, a mental health technology platform that we invested into last year. We put a lot of time into that business. We put about £1.5 million into that business. We're closing our next round at the moment, about another $1 million that's going into that. And I'll talk more about that one. But that's gone from 6 million when we invested to 15 million now, 12 months later. And we expect the next round to be around about 30 million. Okay, so if you get the right businesses at the right time, when that growth path, you can A, make a lot of money, and B, make a really big difference by supporting mission-driven entrepreneurs and teams to really be successful. And then Kudo, I won't say too much about, but Matt and his team are here. We're literally launching that investment with Bolt Angels and Kudo today. So it will be the first time that Matt's done lots of presentations before, but in terms of our community, we're going to do 10 on Kudo. It's going to revolutionize the world, taps into the field of AI. So I won't say any more, otherwise I'll spoil Matt's thunder. And then I think the other thing is just we support a lot of charities, Crisis for a long time, Peace One Day. So it's just great to be able to help both charities and non-profits as well as businesses. So this is Jack, probably the best mental health search engine in the world. I remember when, at the beginning, some people were saying, remember when we did that word cloud, stress, burnout, anxiety, what are the pressures that you face in business? So this is a leading platform. We've got people like Mo Godat on it. We have topics such as burnout, psychosis, addiction, suicide prevention, as well as things like financial well-being we've done in partnership with NatWest, resilience, sleep, all of these kind of things. So we've got over 100,000 question and answers on this platform now, utilizing a very innovative form of technology. I'm not going to play it live, but please take it away. jack.org. It's free for everybody all over the world. So if you know of anybody that has a mental health challenge or, is suffering, or yourselves, family members, please refer them to jack.org. We've got world-leading experts on all of those topics, as well as celebrities like Molly McCann. We just filmed with Harlequins Rugby Club. We've got Davina McCaw, had a video from Davina yesterday. She's coming on the platform in the autumn. Okay, so we're just using that influencer celebrity angle to drive traffic to get people into the platform, but world-leading medical experts to give advice and information. It's literally like having a live conversation with somebody. You ask them a question, the AI works in the background, feeds you the answer. You ask another question, just tap it in. And then it's free, so how we monetize that platform is big companies pay for it for their staff. So Bupa we're rolling out a contract with Bupa that's worth over £500,000. NatWest are using it for their 44,000 staff in the UK. That will go live in June. So we're already either banked or signed contracts for £800,000 of revenue 5 months after launch, and we should smash 2 million by the end of the year. Okay, so it's bringing that money, it's bringing that experience, it's helping build out the team and taking a business at the right stage of its growth. Because do you think mental health is going to get better or worse as we go forward, right? With all the economic challenges, with COVID, etc. All right, so if anybody's interested in that, either as a platform, share it with your friends and family. If you still want to invest, then Natalie's down here. She's our investment manager at Bolt Angels. Have a chat with Natalie. We've got a small allocation left on Jack. Okay, so what drives value in business? We could do a whole seminar for a whole day on that topic. So a couple of resources. I've got a podcast called Be an Angel. New episode comes out every Friday. So if you're interested in either fundraising or investing, that's a great podcast. And then also there's a free video 6-hour masterclass online on the Bolt Angels website. So again, free resources where I can go into more detail. So I apologize if I'm teaching you to suck eggs. A lot of you may well know this, but for those of you that don't, really there's primarily 2 ways to value a business, which is really helpful for you to think about when you're actually growing your company and what levers that you actually want to pull. So start with the one on the right, the revenue method, okay? Revenue times multiple equals business value. Can happen, does happen, okay? But very dangerous, because quite often businesses that are doing that are actually losing money, all right? They're cash flow negative. As John was talking about, at one end of the spectrum, you've got bootstrapping, don't take on any cash, don't take on any debt, use it either from your own funding, or you've got to have really strong unit economics. Okay, so in the case of most collagen brands, that's a good kind of example, whether it's Revive or Absolute Collagen or Protocol, the guys were here earlier, okay? They have a very good average order value, typically in most of those brands between sort of 30, 40, 45 pounds. So first purchase is at that. The repeat purchase frequency, Absolute Collagen, for example, every 2 weeks, right? Every 2 weeks. Some products, if you've got a product that's 10 pounds, like we had a brand that came to see us once, wanted to take on a load of funding. They were selling tea bags, okay, for £5 DTC, okay? And there were about like 100 tea bags in each thing. So the utilization rate was like 4, 5, 6 months, okay, because people wouldn't necessarily have that same tea bag. They were quite specialist. And it's like very simple. We can ask you 10 questions in about 10 minutes and tell you whether it's going to be red, amber, or green in terms of the future success and viability of your business as it stands if you don't make any changes. All right? It is possible, as it is in property, to buy a 1-bedroom flat and turn it into a 3-bedroom flat and get more rental income, but actually it's hard, right? So the unit economics and understanding them, it applies to all businesses, but to understand what they are in your business, really important. And the key ones, average order value, okay, the customer lifetime value, and then the CPA, the cost of customer acquisition. They're your 3 really big key levers. Underneath that, if you like, are then your gross margin, right? If you've got a delivered gross margin to your customer and it's under 60%, you're going to struggle, probably financially, for your brand to be successful, especially if the average order value is low. All right, so it's a very mathematical thing that you can do with most businesses. I mean, it's interesting, we were talking to Trini from Trini London last night, and Maxine from Absolute Collagen, and Chrissy, the founder of the White Stuff, and we were having this discussion at this Prince's Trust kind of dinner, and it was just really interesting where I was talking about numbers, and they're like, oh, boring, all these numbers, spreadsheets. It's like Maxine was like, I built this business out of intuition and gut feel, and I just chose the right people and people that were better than me. And I'm thinking, yeah, you did, and that's amazing, but also the underlying unit economics were fucking amazing, okay? Really phenomenal in that type of a business, okay? So that is a risky business model. On the right-hand side, the more common one is profit times multiple equals business value. And multiple, if you don't understand it, most industries will have a multiple. So if you're making £1 million a year profit, and the industry standard is a 5 times multiple, okay, then you might be able to sell your business for £5 million. £1 million profit times a 5 times multiple, okay, gives you a 5 million valuation. So as a business owner, you want to focus on that, lower cost, increase revenue, okay, 3 key levers, but you also want to affect the business multiple. And that's a harder thing to do, okay? It's some of the soft metrics, brand, the team, your geographic scope. Are you just based in the UK? Have you got an international presence? All of these things will tick up that business multiple, all right? So to give you an example, at one end of the spectrum, if you're an Amazon FBA kind of seller, all right, back in the day before you had the big aggregators coming along, you would maybe get 2 times your profit multiple, 1.5, 2.5 times, okay? What does that mean in a practical sense? That if you were making 100 grand a year profit, you would get 200 grand a year for your business. So a lot of people decided not to sell those businesses, keep trading them, because in 2 years, you're going to make the kind of profit anyway. All right. Tech, on the other hand, which is what we invest into as Bolt Angels pretty much exclusively now, okay, into tech businesses, 20 times multiple, 25 times, 30, 50 times multiple. Phenomenal multiples, all right? So the same business, FBA, on a 2 times multiple versus a tech business on a 20 times multiple, radically different, even though they're making the same amount of profit, all right? So in the D2C space, valuations have changed, they've come down, multiples have come down. I remember speaking to Tim Leach, who's one of the speakers that comes along at Houlihan Lokey, and he sells mega brands really in the beauty space particularly. And that model, when D2C was flying 2017, 2018, you could get a 5 to 7 times revenue multiple on your business, all right? Just not possible now. That's what most people want to see, all right? So if you don't understand your unit economics and you want to learn more about it, have a chat with David, have a chat with me. Is Simon still in the room? Simon still here? Right, there you are. You're right in front of me, mate. Sorry. Have a chat with Simon. He's got an amazing platform that can help you understand the unit economics of your brand and your business. Have a chat with him. He's got an immense amount of knowledge. Okay, and David will be talking about Wayflyer and revenue-based lending and how companies like Wayflyer use these analytics, okay, to understand what's going on with a brand. Okay, if you want to, this is an amazing tool, can be very dangerous if you haven't come across it before. If you want to value your business independently, there's 2 parts to that, to Equidam. We've got a discount code for you at the end, but I'm not promoting it because you get a discount code. It's a phenomenal piece of kit. You fill in about a 60-item qualitative questionnaire. How long has the team been trading? How many of you are there? What experience do you have in business? All of these types of things. And then you can put in 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year financials. All right, and you just plug that information in, and it will spit out 5 different valuation methodologies. And was it cost? A couple of £100? Yeah, 300 quid. Okay, so 300 quid. You can use that, go into it, and it can really support fundraising as well. All right, and you get a discount code at the end, but great bit of kit. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to David in a second. The various phases that obviously a business goes through in specific relation to financing the business. Okay, so over here, savings, credit cards, done that, second mortgage, friends, family. Okay, so they're quite common in that very early seed stage where you fund it yourself. You've probably heard the thing on Dragon's Den. Where'd you get the seed funding from? Or the early stage, friends, family, and fools. Okay, friends, family, fools. So basically, people that know you, like you, trust you, or people that are just like got a massive appetite for risk and money burning a hole in their pocket, or they love what it is you're doing and they'll just invest very quickly. Equity, you've got angel and venture. Angel typically it's changed a little bit. Used to be, if you're doing less than 5 million in revenue, then that generally, for most people, venture capital starts either after 5 million. Because it's harder to get really good deals in this economy and climate, what is a lot of angel companies have now dropped that bar to 3 million to 2 million in revenue. Okay, they won't take a startup. They won't normally take a business without product market fit. That's something that we do at Bolt Angels. We get involved early. Why? Because me, David, Tash, and the team, we've started over 500 companies over the last 30 years. Right, so we've got a deep experience. 93% of venture capitalists have never started their own company. Right? Doesn't mean they're not good at what they do, doesn't mean they don't understand business or they can't add value to you, but they don't have that entrepreneurial instinct of my house is on the line. What am I going to do? Working night and day, 7 days a week, getting lots of grey hair. They've not gone through that. Typically, VCs are people that have been involved in a big business or sold a company, got a lot of money, and then they decide they want to invest. Early stage, again, then you've got microloans, bridge loans, grants, crowdfunding, we talked about that, seeders, Crowdcube. It's a source of finance. It can be very good for some businesses. Don't expect to go on those platforms and raise loads of money from their investors. Okay, the majority of those platforms will want you to have 50% of funding before you even go on. So if you want to raise 2, 3, 4, 500,000, you'll need half of that money committed beforehand, okay? So just bear that in mind. There's obviously fees for fundraising. It's quite a slow process. Don't think you're going to get the money quickly. Typically from start to getting live on a platform is about 3 months, and then another 3 months before you actually get the cash in the bank. But it can be a great way for marketing to get your brand out there. You can advertise it to your customers, okay? But a good way to test it before you go that way, if you've got a customer database and you think, oh yeah, my customers might want to invest in the brand, just send them an email, all right? Just send an email saying, look, we're thinking about raising finance for our brand. Is that something that you might be interested in? Because then if you got 20,000 customers, you get 2 replies. Don't go into something with that assumption you're going to raise loads of money. Equity, we'll talk about a little bit later. This bit, when things get difficult and you're in a declining phase, it can be harder to raise money. Okay, so you can get cash flow off suppliers. Can you change payment terms? Push money out so you've got more flexibility with your suppliers. Can customers support you? Can you get payment up front? All right, with Jack, we've got a more than £500,000 contract with Bupa. We've got it in stage payments, so we're going to try and get as much money as possible up front. We're trying to get NatWest to pay for their platform up front, and then we deliver it over the platform is used over the next 12 months. And then management buybacks. I won't go into the kind of detail. If you want to talk, if you're at the exit stage or really close to it, come and have a chat with us. Okay, so I hope that's useful. Set the scene. Now we'll look at some practical, tactical ways to raise some finance.